It's science because it has certain rules that has to be followed in communication, business or even personal. There are some rules. It's art because it is an expression of the individual person. And so it's a beautiful blend of personality with certain frameworks and structures in which we make certain communications. With our family members especially, that's where it all starts, and then it boils over, spills over into our other acquaintances as well. So these are the two important verses that we saw as communication tools from the Bible. We're not going to divert much from these tools. We're going to talk about this tool even as we talk about communication between children and parents and how that works out in real time. So I'm going to depend on all the parents here for your wisdom and for your inputs. Because this requires a lot of interaction together. There are some things which I will not be able to see correctly, but there are some things I will probably be able to see more perfectly than parents because of my vantage point. I come from a non-parenting perspective, and so some of these things are probably really true, which has to be adapted within your structure, and some of the things you'll probably have to add the flavor and say, hey, look at it in this way, and then that's how we learn together as we go forward. Answer these two questions very quickly. While growing up, okay, as parents, you're talking about you as children. While growing up, what are some things you could easily talk about with your parents and why? Also, while growing up, what are some things you found very difficult to talk about or talk to your parents about and why? You found out some reasons why you are not able to talk with your dad, or sometimes talk more free with your dad than your mom, or more with your mom than your dad. And these are experiences that we can't change. This is something that we are. It has made us who we are today. This phrase, have you used it or has it been used to you? As a parent, they never listen to me. And when we say that as a parent, what do we mean? We mean that they don't really do what we ask them to do. They don't really do what we want them to do. They never listen to me is basically a worldwide phrase. Okay, everyone uses this in the world sometime or the other. And we want to look at it from the parent-child perspective. When the parent says this, they basically mean they don't do what I'm asking them to do. But when a child says this, and children also say that many times, they never listen to me. They mean something much different, much deeper, which needs to be a little bit more, delved and say, why are they not doing what I'm wanting them to do? There's probably something that as parents we have to look deeper into. And these points or these suggestions are not just for parent-children relationships, they can be used for any relationship. Because I see a lot of singles who are wondering, I'm not a parent yet, how does this work for me? In your relationships generally, in fact, the Bible does not say parents talk like this to your children, and when you're talking to your adult friend, talk like this to your adult friend. It doesn't say that way. It has only one general commandment. And so it applies across all relationships, especially with the parenting relationship. And so feel free to think of your friends, your parents, your acquaintances, and how this works out in your situation as well. When children say this, they typically mean one or more of the following. The first thing they probably mean is, you're not hearing what I feel. You're not hearing what I feel. For kids, listening and hearing and acknowledging what they are feeling is more important than anything else. And this works for both boys and girls. Research has shown that boys, even up to the age of 17, have this need to be heard of their feelings. We always dismiss boys as, get to the point, what is this feeling, crying and all those things. No. Every child in his or her makeup has this innate desire to be heard at a very deep level. At a very deep level as to what they feel. And imagine a scenario like this. Imagine you are having a problem with an unfair teacher, that your child is having a problem with an unfair teacher. If the child tells the parents about it, which would be the best way for your parents to handle it? Now, this was an actual question put forward to children for a research purpose, okay? And this was the answer that they came up with. The three options they had was, you tell them the problem and they immediately jump in to help you fix the problem. 19% said yes. Your parents listen to how you feel about what's going on and say something like, that must have made you really upset. I'm so sorry. Some of them said yes. Your parents listen to how you feel about what's going on and say something like, that must have made you really upset. I'm so sorry. Then they ask you if they want their help. And research said that actually hit the highest answers and said that's what we want our parents to ask us or deal with it. So you could look at it, it's almost 80%. 8 out of 10 children basically wanted their feelings to be heard or asked or inquired about before they even talked about their problem or how to solve their problem. And therefore, parents are probably doing this, in your own setup. But consciously keep looking and hearing for the children's emotions, which is not really articulated properly. Children don't know how to articulate feelings. They know how to articulate the problem. But it is the parent's responsibility to somehow ask those questions to find out their real inner state of mind, and then they'll be able to open up better perhaps. They also mean, when they say, my parents never listen to me, they probably mean this. As parents, your feelings are getting in the way of hearing my feelings. And this is very, very common. I think we all grew up with this kind of a battle. You're not hearing me. No, you're not hearing me. The dad will retort, that kind of situation. Children at different stages of development, from their 3, 5, 8, 10, pre-teens, early teens, late teens, they all have different emotional makeups and states transitioning. And sometimes they transition very quickly. 1 week maybe they'll change, and that's really difficult for parents to move along with them. But this is not unusual. Children having these emotional inequilibriums, you want to call them, it's not unusual, it is not abnormal, and they are not putting it on. Although it might look from outside and say, what, he's making a big deal out of this. No. They're not putting it on. They are struggling to communicate what they really feel at a deep level. So they're not putting it on, like one family therapist would say, children, basically she's talking about teenagers. Teenagers, it's normal for them to be just big giant balls of emotion. Am I right, children, parents? They always have this conflicting emotion that they work within, and then as parents we are left with, how do I get there? And it's fine, for children to just express that, and for you to be calm when they are doing that is probably even more important. Because when they are getting emotional, they are also looking at the parents to see if they are getting emotional also. And this is like a game, like a let's watch and wait. If I say this, what's my dad and mom's reaction? If my dad and mom say this, see how I'm flaring up. So all this, this relationship looks chaotic, looks check, looks chaotic, but actually they are looking for how you are reacting. Because children, I think, are very scary. Correct me if I'm wrong. They are quite scared with their emotions. And I think in Indian culture, we have successfully suppressed expression of emotions because it's not easy to deal with them as parents, or the children themselves are like, I don't know if I say this, what will be the reaction. We have some couple of examples as to how this works out in real time, but they're really scary because they don't have control over it. They don't know how to control it. And so when they see someone who is controlled and calm and their emotions are in check, it gives them an equilibrium. They kind of relax in front of that situation. And so it's important that parents maintain a calm atmosphere when children are in that emotional battle, that rage going on. And by the way, don't expect children to listen to parents rationally when these emotions are in a high. Have you tried talking rational, sit down, let me talk logic to you when your child is throwing tantrums? It never happens. Yeah, I've seen it happen, and it's like, no, they don't want to talk about A plus B equals C. They want to talk about something else, and they really want to, they want you to be calm and listen to you as well. But sometimes, look at this scenario. Have you been a victim of this scenario? My dad yelled at me for an hour because of something I didn't do. Maybe I didn't answer my phone and I was grounded, no questions asked, no explanations sought. Just shouting. And so what happens to this child? எங்க அப்பா இப்படிதான் எது சொன்னாலும் he'll blow his top. That kind of a situation is what sometimes we bring into our parenting as well. And sometimes the children are unreasonable. And I don't think we can expect children to be very reasonable. With this scenario, my dad will only hear part of what I'm going to say or what I tell him. He'll hear me yelling and jump to conclusions and start taking it out on me. He doesn't even know the whole story and he's freaking out. You see the inconsistency there? I am the one doing the yelling as a child. I am yelling, but I am concerned that my dad is also freaking out. Okay, so they don't see that inconsistency. They only see what you are showing them. And so sometimes our feelings as parents sometimes may get into the way of hearing their feelings as well. And so we'll have to really be patient, I guess, as parents to deal with this entire situation. The third thing, which parents, when children say they never listen to me, they're probably looking at it in this angle. You appear to make up your mind before hearing me out. Oh, this, we have all gone through this. Now, you're not even listening to me. You've already decided who's at wrong, who's at fault. In any situation, right, guys? In any relationship, we have become these, judgmental. We're all judgmental people. We've all wanted to put people in some kind of box because of various factors: previous behavior, previous experiences, and personality type, or presumed personality type of the person we're talking to. Oh, he's always been lying for the last 3 months, so this might also be a lie. And perhaps he's telling the truth on that occasion. And so we kind of come to a conclusion. You made up your mind before we have heard the entire story. It comes across as though dad and mom really don't care. And so parents sometimes decide the punishment or the discipline implementation plan even before they have heard the explanations. And this sometimes can become a stumbling block for children to say, okay, you punish me. I've seen children who have become so accustomed to punishment. They're like, hit. For 5 more times, hit 5 more times. No problem. I've seen this in school. Children in school who have always been labeled as makku, and the ones who don't do well, when the teacher calls out the name, everyone else is laughing. And this is failed. They will come immediately and show their hands. The teacher wouldn't have even said, show me your hands, I'm going to cane you now. They just come and it's almost like accepted. Okay, get through, let us get over with, let's just get to the next thing. Let me get punished. And sometimes maybe children in our own families might have that picture. This is how he is going to conclude the matter before I have even expressed or heard, before they even hear me out. And so sometimes it can come across as we don't care as parents. Scenario. My parents will not listen to me. They say, you did this and we know it, just shut up and go to your room. There's never any room for my side of the story. And if I told my side of the story, nothing will change. And so might as well not speak out, endure. And by the way, they don't just endure, they are building something very deep. There's some foundations being built in their lives, which probably is going to take years and years of undoing. And so when we talk to such children about grace of God, love of God, where you say God listens to you, God loves you, God wants to hear from you, they don't understand that. They're like, what do you mean God hears me? Or God understands me? My last 15 years experience doesn't say that. Okay, every time I've tried to say this to my father, he never heard me. So when he's saying God hears me, I can't understand it. And you see, it just goes and affects at a very, very deep soul level when we do these kind of things with our children. A couple of more things. When children say this, they never listen to me, they probably mean you're more concerned with making your point than considering mine. How many of you had, while growing up, had parents who would lecture you? Yeah? Anything that we tell them, Pukar, come and sit down, I want to talk to you about it. Then we realize, Mukka Manaram Gali, 45 minutes over, that movie also over. So, oh my goodness, my dad is going to start lecturing at me. And this is what parents slip into lecture mode while trying to help their child see where he went wrong. And in lectures is what happens. That's the father, that's the son. The father wants to tell so much. Okay? The son has lost interest in the first couple of minutes. He's going to sleep. He's probably just eyes wide open listening, but he's not going to be responding or taking it in at all. Okay? And so lecture is quite inefficient when we are trying to understand a child's mind or a child's heart or the child's problem, whatever the child may bring. So the question becomes, what do I tell the child? Do I tell them anything, or do I even explain myself? Yeah, all that is secondary. We're talking about dealing with this phrase, they never listen to me. As children tell this to parents, they never listen to me. These are all probably what is going on in your children's mind. And so when you go into lecture mode, when my dad says, son, I'd like to give you a little lecture about why you shouldn't do this, I just about died. I know it's not going to be short, he's going to lose me after 2 minutes. And we've all lost our fathers after 2 minutes, no? You sit and talk with your papa, not for me, not my father, my mother. It's like a grind, it will go on, and it will continue the next day. Over breakfast, it will start. And the next evening they come, will you do this again? I may have done it, but there are things which I will just hide, plain hide. And I think children know exactly how to circumvent the problem person. Every time they do that really well. And so there is a time for explaining, but not when the child is probably at a high emotion trying to talk about his problems. Okay, so we'll have to look at it differently. And sometimes they probably say this, you seem to care more about enforcing rules than about our relationship. And that's another similar to what we've said. Oh, this family is all about rules. 9 o'clock means I came at 9:05 and they punished me. So it's all about maintaining that strict norm. No, it's not nothing, no leeway here, there. And they don't even want to know that my cycle got punctured. They just said you didn't come at 9 o'clock. You should, my mom, you should have thought about every eventuality before you took your cycle. 9 o'clock means you should think, 8 o'clock, leave, eventuality of a puncture, you have time to take care of that and then come at 9. No excuses, please. Okay, so this is so, which means taking the rules and like Pharisees, no, adding things, making new rules as they go. So it's difficult for children to believe that they are cared for or they are understood when we have this rule mentality. I don't know if this is there in your slide. There's a 6th point, right? What does it say? I don't feel safe to talk to my parents. I don't feel safe talking to you. Why? You'll freak out, you'll flip. Imagine your son, 16-year-old son comes and says, Dad, I smoked weed today. I smoked ganja. What do you say? So, imagine if the dad says, hey, that's a stupid thing to do, man. Why did you do that? Okay, I'm just speculating. And the mother says, okay? That's it. No more talk to the mom about any weakness or difficulty that the parents is, that the child is going through. With the dad, maybe he'll have an easier way to say, Pa, and probably the father and the son have to have some conversations about that issue. But the initial response of the mom is like, the watermelon relatives think, if you look at your eyes, it's all glassy, it's don't come to my uncle's house tomorrow. Okay, so you put all these walls because why? You will smell this way, you will talk rubbish, and because you took ganja. And so the problem has now become, you did a bad thing, you did a made a bad choice. Not that's the problem, but they have actually said, you are now making me look bad as a bad parent. You made me look bad in front of the parent, in front of the society. That is a bigger problem now for the parents. The child is not concerned about that. He wants to say, hey, how is my dad going to react if I slip this one in? Now, by the way, this ganja might be the superficial problem. There are some deeper problems which he's probably not going to say to his mother, not even once, because she flipped out from ganja itself. Okay? And so this is how the conversation stops, because we have not allowed the child to make mistakes and to really have a forum for real tough conversation, but real conversations. That's how we need to check. Okay. So you'll freak out is probably a common reason why children do this. Now, I've given you 6 reasons. There may be many more, or you may say, this is not applicable in my case. That's all fine. But the bottom line is, this is where the scripture says, fathers, do not exasperate your children, or do not embitter your children, so that they won't lose heart, or they won't become bitter, that they will not be discouraged. Now, if you want an application of this is what we're talking about. Children can become bitter, exasperated, discouraged when parents, and says father. I think fathers are much more held responsible for the leading of the parenting responsibility. They are said, make sure your child is not embittered and discouraged, because then that stops all avenues of God's working in that child. And so that's where Paul is coming from. And he's talking directly to fathers. This is a direct verse. And so sometimes we may be exasperating our children by not paying proper attention to some of the mistakes we may be making at all. So the question is, what then says I'm listening? What communicates to the child or to the children, I am listening, speak to me? There's a beautiful proverb in the book of Proverbs, which says, the thoughts, the intentions, or the purposes, depends on which version you're using. The thoughts, intentions, and purposes of a man's heart are deep waters, but a man of understanding draws them out. This is very true when children are growing up. A man's heart, a person's heart is such deep waters. We feel like we know someone well, think again, it's very deep. Waters run very deep. Only God knows the secrets of the hearts. And parents, children are given to parents not as a lump of clay that we can make any mold out of. And I want to make a mold out of this. No, children are loaned for training purposes to become responsible citizens of heaven to parents. And so our responsibility is to carefully, a man of understanding, a parent of understanding, to discover, to delve in, to probe deeper and find out the child's heart condition or heart's language, and then to listen to that, because they remember that. They remember that more than they remember anything else in their life, because they have taken the time to understand them. Okay, and so here are a few things which would say that you're listening to your child. We've talked about this. Focus on their feelings first. Like I said, it's very difficult for children to articulate feelings. The mistake sometimes we parents can do is we filter out the feelings and we go directly to the problem. Why don't we try to do the opposite? Filter out the problem just for a minute, just for a while. Filter out the problem and make the feeling as the most important topic of conversation. See how that works out. We're all doing this as experiments, None of us know what actual first class, 100% parenting is. But do the opposite. Filter out the problem and make the problem as your child's present feeling. And acknowledge that feeling. Help him understand that he's not weird to have that feeling. And then probably, and this has happened even in bigger adult relationships, not just parent-children relationship. When you have listened to the person's feeling and what he has sounded out and given to you or unloaded, the problem has a way of taking care of itself. This has happened even in other relationships. Why not in a parent-child relationship, where the child just says, I don't need to tell anything. I think I can handle this now. I just wanted to vomit, and we just need to be lightning rods. Just have to take that in, and without judgment. I don't know how do you do this? Without judgmental, without biting our tongue and saying, I want to give an answer right now, because it's so stupid what this guy is actually feeling. But no, to swallow that and say, let me just deal with it as how God would deal with it. How does God deal with our problems? Got me thinking really deeply last night. How does God deal with my problem? Does He solve it? Or does He give me mercy and grace and strength to endure the present wretched feelings that I go through? I think the second one, right? So let us therefore approach the throne of grace with confidence. Throne of grace with confidence. Because that's where grace flows, and receive mercy in a time of need. Not problem solving. God is a problem solver, but He is not going to be coming and saying, okay, do this, tomorrow morning get this done. He's going to say, no, you will deal with it. I'm listening to you as a father listens to the heart of his son or the daughter. And then the problems have a way, sometimes, not always, they may or may not need our help in dealing with the problem. But 50%, let's say 50% of the time, the problem is dealt with without you even offering any assistance. But help your child to articulate their feelings. Where possible, affirm their feelings. Like I said, your children shouldn't feel that their feelings are weird, that their feelings are unheard. They have to be heard. They have to be affirmed. That it's okay to cry. I don't know if you're a boy, whether your parents told you can't cry. Yeah, can boys cry? Boys, can you cry? I think any way of expressing emotion is all right. And I think we should allow our children to hear that. Just a second. Yeah. So, give me some examples. What are some of the things you can do or say which would show your child that you are affirming their feelings or that you are acknowledging their feelings? What are some of the things you can say or do? Body language wise. Look at them. And nodding your head is such a powerful tool of acceptance.
Don't show that anger, disapproval.
Your eyes. Kids can pick it up. Huh? Don't show disapproval. A slight biting of the lower lip is enough for your children to understand, okay, now I can't talk more than this now. And so it needs to be very, very... But you're listening. You're saying, hey, I'm looking deeper. This is a person who's got deep waters. I'm looking deeper. And nodding your head. And sometimes even reflecting their feeling. Are you angry that your friend in school called you soda booty? This is a common thing that we get in schools these days. Soda booty. Yeah. And then to reflect upon that and say, I'm so sorry. And then continue the conversations from there on. Therefore, there are a lot of things you can do which would help your child to understand that you're affirming what they're feeling right now. Create an environment of calmness in the midst of their storm. Like I said, when the mom starts yelling about ganja, you've stopped an opportunity of trust. Because when there's calmness in an environment, they would probably be a little bit more relaxed. Even though they are not at the moment, they will subsequently relax because the environment is not detrimental to their relaxation. And so that's very important that we keep the environment calm as well. Maintain eye contact. Joel and Peter said, maintain eye contact. What does eye contact show? I think last 2 weeks back you would have probably discussed it. What does eye contact communicate? Listening. I'm interested. I'm interested in what you are trying to tell me. So speak on. If you don't make an eye contact, then you're saying, you communicated that they're not listening to you. And sometimes you have to help them recognize their body language. Children sometimes are very exasperated. They probably are, running from place to place, and they're just increasing the tone of their voice, perhaps. Maybe sometimes we can just articulate and tell them, hey, just just a moment. Do you realize how you have crossed your arms now? You have crossed your arms, you're pacing up and down at a very high speed, and your tone has also become higher. Sometimes the children probably thinking, really? I'm not talking loud, I'm talking normally. I've listened to this so many times and going, hey, why are you talking loudly? I'm like, it's a normal voice. No, you're talking loudly. Which means I have hyped up something. And so it would be good to say, okay, would you like to sit down? Let's just sit down. And then you will realize that they will soften down. In time. But then to help them understand that they are communicating using their body language is important. That they realize, hey, I'm saying something expressively and there's probably something I need to control, calm down. My parents have seen this. And it's good to have those conversations as well. Try not to take hurtful things to heart. How many of your children have hurt you? No one. Wonderful family. Like the words, offending words. I know families. Huh? They are very excellent. That's the point. Don't take it to heart. And how do we know you have not taken it to heart? Don't repeat it tomorrow. Yesterday you said this, remember? Which means you've taken it to heart. Okay, so when you're not taking it to heart, you really don't recollect it anymore. You have let it go, just like God did. He doesn't take our sins to heart.
But they don't mean that. They'll just say, no, I love you. Actually, I don't know how to say that. You're going to say?
Yeah, you irritate me, but...
Yeah, you irritate me. Yeah. Adikira kaida.
The person doesn't hit.
Hey.
The person does not hit. He gets for the child.
Now, we'll have to use the word discipline in whichever form which is appropriate for the child. Any person who does not discipline his child, the child is not his own child. That's what the Bible says. God disciplines us because we are his children. And so that's a good thing to... Okay, next is probe below the surface. Probe below the surface. Sometimes children will just let out these sentences, no? And then you probably heard it. Nike, school or naikutti paatha. That's how they'll start. And you'll say, oh, priya. And if you go on with your cooking or cleaning, they'll be like, okay, they're not interested. And the naikutti romba alaga irundhuchu. Priya, cheri, okay. Adu vettuma.
No, you have not. What is going below the surface? We have not yet probed it. Or rather, you probed it and you don't want to face the fact that you want a pet at home. If you probe below the surface, you probably realize that this kid probably wants a pet. Or maybe just another brother or a sister. I'm just saying. We don't know. We have to probe deeper and say, why is she talking about this dog that she saw on the road? Probably there's something else that she wants to communicate. Probe below the surface. Don't ask superficial questions just like, how was your day at school? I think it's important in any conversation, especially parents and children. Don't ask a close-end question. How was your day at school? Fine. Did you like games period? Yes. No. You should ask like, so what did you do? What did you feel like when you scored that goal? Positive affirmation. And sometimes you can even ask, how are other things in your life? Sometimes parents are only bothered about school. No? School nalla padicha, teacher na sonnanga, did you get the exam well? Good job. I did a good job. Have dinner, rest. We are seldom concerned about their other aspects of their life, which is not school connected, which is probably something which you have introduced them to, and you have to introduce them to something beyond just school academic stuff. Anyway, and the second last point: keep conversation length age appropriate. If you I don't know what the age limit is, 3 to 5 years old, not more than 30 seconds of talking with them about important stuff. They can't remember, or they can't recall after that. So you'll have to actually rehearse and say, I'm going to talk about this to my child in 30 seconds. What are the words I should use? And communicate that in a nutshell. And with the older children also same problem. No? Today, have you seen every video clip is 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes maximum. Even 3.5 minutes, I'll see another time. It's become like that. What makes us think children will listen to me for half an hour?
when the world is saying 2.5 minutes is enough for you to understand something very, very important. And so for us to actually get into that kind of a conversational ability, to keep the length age appropriate is so important. Maybe older children, if they can understand language better, a little longer than that, but not too long. And then also use age appropriate language. To a young kid, we will have to say, no hitting your sister. We can't say, Chalo, it is not acceptable in the rules of our house to take a stick and harm your little sister. Okay, so simple conversation, no hitting your sister. Maybe when you grow older, a little bit more can be added and say, you can develop the language in your own situation according to this, your child's psyche. And I think this is how God also talks to us. Old Testament, how were the commandments given? Do not murder. He didn't say, that child I made in my image, and so he has these breathing, my breath. So if you take a stone and stone him to death, you are murdering, don't do that. No. I don't think humanity, we are advanced on a certain level. Humanity in the Old Testament days were like LKG students. They never understood deeper truths. They only understood LKG, UKG level. No means no. Do not murder, do not steal, do not covet your neighbor's wife and property. Those were simple commands God gave, not detailed explanation. But as humanity progressed and progressed and progressed, you see in the New Testament, God says, hey, even if you have an attitude of enmity and anger, that is also the do not murder. So do not murder. So He's explained it, He's taken you to another level, 10th standard level. Why do not murder? Because of all these reasons. Don't even think angrily or, that he's a fool, you want and done murder. And then, PhD level, hey, love one another with the love of Christ Himself. And then entire poem of 1 Corinthians 13, love does no wrong, love does not do this, love is kind, love is... All that is actually a commentary on do not murder. Do not murder was a command, but they would not have understood love is kind, love is all these things until they had human beings have to grow to a certain extent. Now we understand this is the reason for the commandments. And so this is a very good understanding for us. Don't just blindly obey the 10 commandments because it is there. Here are the deeper understandings of the truth. And so when we communicate to a child, we have to realize they can only understand yes, no, don't, young kids. You know that. And as we grow older, teenagers, we can explain them with age-appropriate language which has to be communicated with them. Alright. Quickly, this just takes 2 minutes. What 2 or 3 things are you doing well in communication with your children? You can use this list to just circle them or write next to it. And also say what 2 or 3 things can you begin to include or improve upon in your communication with your children. Just take 2 minutes to discuss with your spouse and do this. Singles, this also includes us, who are not yet having children. What are some of the things you are doing well in communicating with others? And what are some of the things you can include in your communication as well? Next is to avoid negative communication. Everyone sitting here has experienced negative communication growing up. And the word is always don't, or something that lets us down, something that has not built us up. And we need to identify those situations or those languages or those, shall we say, situations and avoid them as much as we can. This is taken from this Department of Pediatrics in the US. There's a couple of wonderful writers have come up with these list of negative communications that the parents should avoid. Nagging and lecturing, we touched upon it. Nagging means repetition. If you have said something once, twice, do not repeat the same thing because it is obviously falling on deaf ears. You'll have to somehow come up with a consequence situation and say, okay. And I've seen many families in our church do this. Last time, and if you're going to do this again, I'm going to remove this reward, whatever that he or she likes to do, as a warning. And so, do not use as much, too many nagging languages. Then your child will realize that you're not serious. The more you nag, the more you repeat or lecture, I don't think your children are getting the picture that you're serious. They only think that you're trying to boss or tell them what you feel. They will only get the picture that, oh, my parents want to correct me if we stop them on the tracks and tell them, here, next time, this is the situation. Right? Second is interruption. I think this is common courtesy, right? We all practice this in our communications. When your child is speaking something, however long he's taking to arrive at that point, do not interrupt. By interrupting, you are reducing their importance. And we say this in business languages also, right? Don't interrupt when someone is speaking. In adult conversation, hey, I'm talking, don't interrupt. Children are also persons. So when they speak, give them the same courtesy. Let them finish what they're trying to say. It may be convoluted. You may know exactly what he's going to say, but let him come to it. And he needs to speak his heart out. Do not interrupt your child when he's speaking. Do not criticize. Criticisms are always looked at as direct attacks on their esteem. And when we criticize, we have diminished, in the eye of the child, we have diminished his value to a very, very deep level. In our culture, I have seen this happen more, because our culture is like a shame culture. And we always tend to use words that are shaming or putting someone else down. And we have all kinds of words, Gundu Chetti, Sota Gutti, Karupu Paya, Uli Gucci. These phrases, these words are all very native to our culture, where we are describing a person by either their appearance or the way they speak. Think about we say, someone struggles, we measure them by what we see, and that is criticizing, that is shaming. It is not accepted anywhere in the world, especially in the eyes of God. You have diminished someone who He has created. I'm sorry, that is not at all acceptable. And so, when we speak to children who are very, very fragile, who are very, very wanting to have identity and know who they are, and growing in a loving environment, eventually you're making them reach God. By using words which would obstruct that, you have lengthened the time, or maybe even reduced their opportunity of knowing who they really are in the eyes of God. And so, don't shame them, because when you shame someone, you have communicated, you are bad. When you shame someone, you have communicated, you are bad. When you tell someone you have done something bad, it's different from saying you are bad. Hey, ni makku. You heard that, no, from our parents? You are a fool. No. That was a foolish thing that you did. Two different ways of approaching the same problem. And so criticism of children's behavior, or children himself or herself, reduces their value. Do not dwell on the past, okay? Dwelling on the past is a huge mistake which parents try to do, and I'm glad to hear that you don't take it to heart. It's gone, water below the bridge. Once a problem or a conflict is solved, do not go back to it. Do not remind them of what they did last year. Let the child start in a clean slate. Just like God. Just like God. God doesn't say, I'm going to treat you like your sins deserve. He says, I don't treat you like your sins deserve. And whatever you've done, I have forgotten. I have a God who forgotten. It's all gone. As far as the east is from the west, so much have I removed your iniquities away from me. So he doesn't remember. Parents also, do not bring up your child's past mistakes, because now when you do that, you have taught your child that it is okay to hold a grudge. By you remembering their mistakes, they are going to remember everyone's mistakes and your mistakes as a parent. You have taught them that. Unwittingly you have done that. And they will have grudge. And we have not really communicated God. And do this even to each other as husband and wife. When you hold grudge against your spouse, child is watching. And obviously you're not going to communicate anything different to your child. He's going to see that and say, why are you reminding my mom of what she did 3 years back? And so you taught them something about feeling guilty or dwelling on the past. And so the next point is trying to control children through use of guilt. That's another huge problem in our we make children or make people feel guilty because of what they are thinking or what they are saying or what they are doing.
This is very common in schools here. That is where you think you can improve the child's performance by shaming them. And I've heard this schools doing teachers lowering the marks of students so that they will improve. They actually got like 68, put it as 45, then they will work harder and get 80. You want 80 or 90, but this is what they're doing. They don't realize the damage. So the education system here, I don't know what we can do about that. It reduces the child. They are anyway struggling, going through so many changes. And we're dealing with something right now. It's awful.
What is done in the house is undone most of the time in schools. That's the sad part. Yeah, I think there's a great discussion to have. How do we influence the education system in our city, nation? How do we make this value systems as a teacher's value system?
No, the civics teacher actually saying, I will put 20 marks lower than actually what they can get, than what they deserve. Then only they will, in the 12th, they'll get.
So look at the value system. So they're basically wanting the marks and they think that high marks means intelligent child means good. I think we are battling against a value system. We're battling against what makes a child good or what makes a child appreciable is not what the school is saying. We are saying something different, and sometimes the children, I think we will have this conflict where children are, my teacher hit me today because I did not draw within the lines. Now this is when I was in craft, in 5th standard, 6th standard, I hated drawing after this. I hated drawing because this drawing teacher will come and say, there's a square, you can't color within the box. I said, I can't, I'm not able to do that. And so she will say, she gave me 10 out of 25 or something. I said, okay, maybe I'm not a gifted artist. I never took a crayon after that because I did not realize that, I have to draw within the boxes. Now, who said that your intelligence or your values are based on drawing within the boxes or getting 95 in physics or whatever it is? Who said that that's the rule? And I think sometimes I feel so angry, I want to go and rip off all the billboards in the schools, especially after public exam. They will put first rank toppers in our school, 15 names, 100 on 100 in maths, 15 names. I want to rip all of them out. I want to go and tell the principal, you better put pictures of children who come from very difficult circumstances and have passed. Put their names, They are the ones who deserve some appreciation. That's what God will say. The least will be first. The first shall be last. And so we are battling against a huge battle of values. How are we going to change that? From your homes. Let your child listen from you before he listens to from anyone else. What is important in the eyes of God? The things that are highly valued among men are detestable in God's sight. Please keep on telling this to your child. If you're valuing this above anything else, above God, God has detested this. He has rubbished this. You'll have to talk languages like that. And then your child, without reducing the importance of hard work and perseverance and all those qualities and values, emphasize. But don't value a child with numbers. Schools all over the world are rethinking this. I think in Norway they've done away with exams. Singapore they've done away with exams. No more exams. In Japan, I don't think children are given I heard Timothy's daughter on Facebook talk about education so passionately. Japan, no importance on academics alone. Value and responsibility. So in Japan, in the schools in Japan, you will see children taking their covers of food, whatever the school gives, putting it in the dustbin, taking the dustbin, cleaning the dining hall of the school before they go to class. In our school, Aya. So what have we taught them? That's a cleaning job is menial. My job is to become a PhD scientist. That is why I'm in school for. gone. We have destroyed, schools are destroyed, and if we stand by that, we are destroying children's value systems. I don't know how else to explain it. Anyway, just because of time, I have to rush up. Sarcasm, my goodness, one of my favorite literary genre. Use of sarcasm, which means saying things that you don't really mean, but saying the opposite, is detrimental to a child. Imagine a child is clumsy and he or she drops things or just, water falls on the table. If you say things like, aren't you the graceful one? What do we say? What are we saying? You're not graceful, you're clumsy. And the child will be like, oh my God, sarcasm. I've done something wrong, I feel so miserable. Now my mom and dad are saying, Nakkala, they're saying, which means I will never ever be comfortable in a dining table. Because I always like, am I going to spill something? Am I going to do something which is offending people? All these kinds of feelings. And also, one of the things you can avoid or try to do it differently is to tell children how to solve problems. I hated this in my dad, this particular quality. There are so many things I love about my dad, but this thing, he always told me how to do things. He never allowed me the freedom to figure it out. And so if I wanted to take a screwdriver and a nail to just punch a hole and put a nail, he'd be like, so he will take it from me and he will do it himself. Never took a hammer again till I was in that house. Why? Every time I do it, it won't be like my dad did it. And so we always try to tell children how to solve it with our way of doing it. Here's a confession. The first time I had drilled a nail was in our house 2 months back. I have not drilled a nail till then because I'm like, I'm scared, I'll mess up. Because I did not do it right 5 times. My dad said I probably hit my finger and then my mom will come running. All these dramas will happen at home. I never learned how to drill. Those days no drill, no hammer and nail and chakka. And it took me so many years to say I can actually do this. Brought a drilling machine. We had to put a bathroom shower, what is it? Towel rack on our bathroom tile. And again, tile. How do I drill a tile? YouTube. Thank God for YouTube. Figure it out. Buy the right tools and start drilling it. Did it. Oh my God, I was so excited because I did it. And so when we tell children how to solve problems, they realize that they're not good enough. Let them make that mess. Let them do all things that are not work right in your eyes, but they will figure it out themselves. Putting children down like name calling, ridiculing, judging, blaming, all is detrimental. And using threats. Anna, this threatful language, But he savage children. All these words that we hear in our culture, and then actually they're savage. They actually slap, and you'll be ringing for the next couple of years. This happens in schools. Schools again, problems in schools. So, in fact, we were having a WhatsApp conversation with my school friends. The different punishments of different teachers in our schools. And we're having a laugh about it. One teacher will pinch here. One teacher will pinch in the edge of the nail and the skin. He will pinch there. One will hit on the knuckle. One will slap on the face. All but fun conversations. But we were recollecting how each teacher punished. But what we recollect, they were only hit. They only threatened us. And so I didn't like history. I did not like chemistry. I did not like biology. Why? The teacher used to hit me. And I still, till today, I still say I hate maths. Why? Because she hit me. She bruised her. Oh my God! See the scar. Okay, so be careful when we use words of threatening language. And lying, no matter how tempting it is to say a lie to a child, never say it. If you don't know it, say it will get back. If you ask me questions about how did I come into this world, and the conversation goes into sex, you'll have to find a way to maybe it's a different conversation altogether, but never ever lie and say something which is not factually true, because they will not appreciate that going forward. Alright, so quickly, 1 minute. Have you experienced negative communication from your parents when you were growing up? Please use the list for guidance. Circle 1 or 2 or 10. just quickly in 30 seconds, and then with your spouse discuss this. What 2 or 3 things can you see as a pattern in your communication with your children? We'll have to say effective open communication. This is a quote from the Christian Zoltan and Nicholas Long. It takes a lot of hard work and practice. Parents should remember, you will never be perfect. We'll never be perfect. I don't think we are aiming for perfection. We make mistakes. Parents make mistakes. But what is important is that parents make every effort to effectively communicate with their... This is cut off here.
When their children are very young.
With their children when the children are very young. Oh, 2 children. Okay, so keep that in mind. We are moving towards perfection. We will make mistakes. Children carries, all children carry scars from their parenting. This is one of the things we can't avoid, but we can reduce the negative impact we have on child rearing as we practice these communication techniques. So these are the things children can say to their parents to help open lines of communication. Open-ended questions. I understand. Tell me more about that. Explain that to me. I'd like to hear about it. How would you like to talk about it? Or if you want to say, can we talk about this after dinner? I want to show you something. And then we can talk about based on that. Why do you say so? What makes you think that way? What do you feel about? How do you feel about that? Or even say, that's interesting. Or wow, some vocabulary that challenges a child to say more or to feel good. Those 2 should be the objectives of opening up these lines of conversation. I want my child to say more to me, to us. I want my child to feel good about himself or herself. What words can I use to increase that? Okay, last section I want to talk about this. This probably will not be very clear in your outline. It's like a big black blob.
Yes.
But this is the verse that was supposed to be there. Proverbs 22:6. Everyone knows this verse. Every time we've quoted this verse in child dedication or to parents at some point. Train a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not turn from it. Now, couple of Hebrew words, we want to look at train. The word train is hana, which is the word for dedicate. And so, the whole idea of, hey, your child is not yours to own or possess. Child is God's gift to you to train and to empower and to make that person like God. That's the journey that God has given us. That's a responsibility of parenting. And so training involves dedicating the child in the way he should go. This phrase, the way he should go, is a very interesting word, derek, which is basically path, guide, channel, or journey, or typical characteristic manner in the way he should go. And I want you to look at Proverbs 30, 18 and 19, where the same word way is used. The word derek or a derivative from that is used in a context which would make this even clearer. Can someone read Proverbs 30, 18 and 19?
There are 3 things that are too amazing for me, 4 that I do not understand. The way of an eagle in the sky, the way of a snake on a rock, the way of a ship on the high seas, and the way of a man with a young woman.
You see that? All the 4 ways are distinct and unique. This constantly amazes me, says the writer. The way of the eagle in the sky, the way of the snake in the rock, the way of the ship in the sea, and the way of a man with his mane. All this is derek, which means an eagle cannot be a snake cannot be a ship, but each are beautiful in its own, shall we say, order of things. In its own characteristic manner, they are destined to do that. And so when the Bible says, train your child in the way he should go, we will have to do this delving issue of what is the characteristic of my child which is unique and which I have to provide the channel or the pathway or the method for him to go in that direction. Is he an eagle or a ship? You know what I'm saying? What is his way? And so this again is schooling spoils it. Because in schools, we make every child academic. Slowly now some schools are saying athletic also.
Have you seen in schools? In our school, we will the games teacher will always have a fight with our maths teacher. Why? Games teacher will say, come for drill practice, come for running race practice. Maths like, hey, what will put food on the table, man? Running, eh? Maths. And so there's always a conflict between the parents, the teacher, maths teacher, and the games teacher. Why? Importance only in academic is what makes the child shine on the soil. It's like telling the eagle, climb a rock. If you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, the fish will live forever thinking it's stupid. Albert Einstein said. So if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you miss the point. A fish survives and rejoices in water. Don't make it go and climb a tree. Or if you make an elephant to go and swim, maybe it does that. Not fully though, it can't be a fish. But what's your child's pathway? And your child will probably change, it will probably be different. But he may be athletic, he may be a dancer, he may be something that is in him which God has ordained and said, this is the potential, release it. Father, mother, release it. This is what I want you to do with my child. You know? And so sometimes this might strong-willed children, sometimes we say, oh, Pastor, but there is actually a way that is forming because of that personality. Recognize that. And sometimes children don't like too many questions. Sometimes children don't like rewards and recognitions. We always think, no, all children love recognitions. Sometimes they think, okay, I got first place. My nephew is like that. He will go, he'll get first place and he'll say. So for him, recognition is nothing. His pathway is something different. We'll have to find out and guide him. And so, what is your child's deepest needs? What is your child's hidden potential? And it's like a game that we can release that potential. It's God ordained destiny. I want to conclude with oh my goodness, that came out wrong. Okay, communicating with your child along the way he should go. So how do I? And here this is something which I have to leave it loose. You'll have to decide in your families what is this pathway, what is the way that my child should go, and how do I converse, communicate, introduce, expose, bring about circumstances in my family that will facilitate him to release this God-given potential on earth. Because we don't want more PhDs, we want servants in different fields. And God has given us all that wonderful responsibility to shine in every area of the world. And maybe a child is destined to be there. So, children have different spiritual temperaments, just as they have different bodies, personalities, interests, and emotional dispositions. Their spiritual temperaments often affect how they learn about God and how best they communicate. And so this book, if you have not read it, please get this book. It's available on Amazon Kindle. It's a book by Gary Thomas called Secret Pathways, Discovering Your Soul's Path to God. This is not a parenting book, but it's a book that will help everyone to recognize what my sacred pathway is to connecting with God. This book came out of a very interesting set of circumstances. In the 1960s, 70s, and even 80s, and even spilling forward, people made a big deal about quiet time. How many of you grew up in that situation where every day, 45 minutes, sitting with the Bible and reading and talking to God is the measure of Christian spirituality? It was how we were grown up. Right? Padichya, Bible padichya, pray panniya, etana vasana vasta. All those. If you don't do it, okay, it was introduced as, hey, people have to get serious about God, let's bring in a discipline. But what happened was, when people didn't do it, they were branded as unspiritual, not wanting God in their life. This book addresses that issue and says, not all of God's created people connect to God in the same way. Your child does not connect to God the same way you connect to God. And this is the journey of discovery. Your spouse does not connect to God the way you connect to God. And so I'm going to list these 9 pathways and allow you to make the choice as which one connects your child best to God. First is naturalists. They love God outdoors. When they're out in the natural world, they see the rocks, they see the mountains, the sand, the beach, the greenery, the scenery. They are just like rejoicing with it. Some children are like, what is this?
My nephew is like that. We took him to Jim Corbett National Park to see tigers. It's like, tigers I can see on the television. And so we realize he's not an outdoor person. He's not a natural. So your child might trigger some words or exclamations when he or she is outdoor. And then you realize maybe this person needs to be more outdoor. Let's create picnics, tent camps, whatever it is, where this person is outdoor and connects with. And you make these conversations so that he or she does not become like, beauty is good for beauty's sake. No, beauty is good because of God who created. And you make that connection because of his or her natural affinity towards this pathway, sacred pathway. Second is sensates. These people are tickled by their senses. Art, music, dance, touch, food, smell, intoxicating smells, it drives them nuts. Like, wow, this is good. And then you can somehow use the sensory methods to, hey, as you touch this, reflect what you're feeling. As you are listening to this song and the choreography, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this? You see, now you realize your child is wired in a sensate direction. Now, we may have mix of 2 or 3, but your child is dominant in 1 or maybe 1.5. And you'll have to find out what your child is good in touching God's heart. Maybe a sensory perception of God is, makes them reflect God better. Traditionalists, and we have these children also, people who love God through ritual and structure. There are people who say, every Sunday have to go and say these prayers. And for them, these prayers and these liturgies are not monotonous. They are life-giving every time they say it. Don't ask me how. I'm not one of those people. Okay, but they can say the same thing a million times and feel differently each time and connect to God closer. Traditionalists, they have to have it a certain way. They have to do ritualistic things. And children, sometimes all of us grow up being ritual people. There are disciplines set in our families, right? Homework time, what time. And so some children thrive in that. They'll be like, no, this is when I want to do my homework, 6 to 7. And so you realize, this guy is a square box head. He wants the time. 8 o'clock, supper. I want to eat. And so it might change, it might not change. But you figure it out and say, this person, probably we should have seasons of worships in our families. Every Lent, maybe we should have 1 day in the week dedicated because he likes to connect structurally. Maybe every Christmas we should do something very specific about Jesus' birth in the family. So you see how you have now decided to communicate God, train him in the way he should go, because you have now identified what his sacred pathway really is. And fourth one, ascetics. Ascetics are people who don't care about loud music or pictures. They just want to be by themselves, alone, in a home, in a house which might not be beautiful. They don't care about beauty or grandeur. They just want to be by themselves. And they can't understand people who are loud. And so if you're a father who likes loud music, and if you have a son who is like an ascetic, all the best. Okay, but hey, if you identify this quality where this guy shuts the door a lot of times and then he comes out and he probably has drawn something, he derives strength from just being alone. A lot of hymn writers and song writers are ascetics.
One of the most famous ascetic is Michael Card. He's a more contemporary songwriter, but go listen to his songs, Michael Card. His songs will be like no one else's songs. It will not be like Matt Redman's songs. His song will have like this depth. I think even Graham Kendrick is one of the ascetic persons. Because his song is like, all the possessions, the heart has to be free from all his possessions so that the heart knows what true freedom is. None of us writes that, ascetics may write, but it touches us. So they have great potential to contribute to God's kingdom just by being by themselves. And don't just leave them by themselves, connect them to God, appropriate questions. Hey, what did you do and how did you feel? Would you like to come to another place where we have this group of people who just sit and pray? I can also come along with all these conversations as you go around. Another child of yours might be an activist. The difficulty is people like Lawrence who've got 3 children.
or someone who's got more than 1 and 2, you'll have to really battle it out and say, oh, my 3 children are 3 different. Okay, activists are basically people who love God through confrontation, who basically want justice. There's injustice in the world. There's so much of injustice. I want to. It's like Jesus going and driving all those people in the temple. No? Injustice, injustice. And if your child gets worked up about injustice and the way you treated the servant was bad, why did you call her like this? Ivade, you said. He realizes, okay, this is basically an injustice issue going on here. Expose him or her to the injustices in the world at an appropriate age, at an appropriate chunk. If there is injustice in the world, express, hey, what do you think about this? Shall we go to this marathon run tomorrow because you feel this is injustice and we're having a cause tomorrow? Shall we go run and just talk to some people how we can? Yes, let's do it. And those kind of activities, you have communicated some deep spiritual truth just because you realized your son or daughter is an activist. And your job as a parent is to expose them to the ills of the society. Sixth kind of person is a caregiver. A caregiver is someone who loves God by loving others. And they find so much joy. You'll find this if the child is in your house, helping, cleaning, serving, taking the trash out. Some children they love to do that. They love to just keep doing things. One of our relatives' son, he's in his teenage now. He loves to serve people cool drinks and cake. Whenever someone comes to the house, he has to be the one who takes the tray and go and give. If someone says, he gets very upset. These kind of people will get upset if you tell them don't do this service. And so if your child is the one who's been doing like this service minded, take them to shelters, take them to the orphanages, take them to places where they can connect with people and thereby then have the conversation, hey, what do you feel God's heart is right now? He's rejoicing, no? Because you are happy. God is also happy because He loves poor people. He loves people who who are cared for. And you've done a great journey in the child's life because you've identified that. And 7th is enthusiasts. They love God with celebration. These people are what we call cheerleaders for God. They've always been clapping, jumping, dancing, and they're exuberant. You can't contain them. Ascetics will have a tough time with these people. They're like, oh my God, there he goes again, clapping and jumping. Simplicity is the best medicine, But they don't know. I derive joy in jumping and dancing and clapping. And these are the ones you'll find as mostly worship leaders, I guess, in the world. Just rejoicing and just enjoying God with an element of mystery also, that comes along the way. And the 8th one is, these are contemplators. These people think of God as this romantic bridegroom or a very loving father, bridegroom. They have this concept. They don't really care about the doctrines and the memorizing scriptures. Their favorite verses will be the Psalms and the Songs of Solomon. But there's like divine romance. I can connect to God in this heart of worship. Just almost like an ascetic, but they also want other things, but they want to have this love, romance relationship with God. It's bright, very true. It's like Mary at the feet of Jesus. Mary and Martha, that Mary, she was adoring Jesus. Just sitting there listening to everything, forgetting about service and everything. That's the kind of a person. And so Martha is a caregiver. So you understand those sacred pathways as well. And finally, intellectuals. Intellectual doesn't mean brilliant. Okay? They just connect God to God through their mind. Everyone is brilliant. All these 9 people are brilliant. Somehow we've got, the intellectual path means brilliant. No. They all are brilliant. Intellectuals are those who connect God to God through concepts and mind wrestling through situations and doctrines and dividing the thought and the marrow, and they love those verses, And they really don't like the Psalms. The Psalms is like much of emotions. Give me Hebrews. That is neat. So we kind of you immediately know how I connect to God. It's through the mind. And then if your child is like that, and he might not be mind in the sense of give me Bible, I want to read the Bible. No. He may be reading about dinosaur, he may be reading about bacteria and going deep into bacteria analysis and all those things. If you find your son or daughter doing that research, you realize he's an intellectual. Introduce him to the age-appropriate materials to read, to digest, and to reproduce. Say, hey, what did you read yesterday? There's an interesting book you were having in your hand. And then you probably have a conversation about it. You see how conversation need not be abrupt or made up. It can be because of what your child is trained to do or programmed to do. You can introduce that concept as well. And so, I will leave this to you to do it. How do you best connect with God as parents? Individually, how do you best connect with God? And also, how does your spouse connect with God? Remember that also. How does your spouse connect with God? And go home and do, how does your child, where do you see tendencies of your child connecting with God? The last slide will be this. I put 3 because of Linda, Steve and Nathan. That's the largest family I've seen. So, if you have only 1 or 2 children, figure it out. If you have 2 girls, draw off one hair somewhere. Okay? But write the name of your child, put some eyes and draw, and also write down their sacred pathways. What you feel as of today that they connect meaningfully with those 9 pathways and start working. It might change, it may not change, but you'll have to just feel your way around it. Okay? So